As long as you don't mention my name or anything about me. I'm just excited we're not making cookies.
We're making banana splits.
I know how you feel about cookies, though.
Yeah. Well, especially because I can't eat them.
I understand that. I was going to bring you chips, and then I literally didn't know what chips were actually gluten-free and which ones were not gluten-free.
Most of them say, I actually have some chips. Most of them say.
Do most of them actually say gluten-free on them?
Yeah.
Hey, did you see the Super Bowl ad for the new hot, flaming hot nacho? It's amazing. They have Chance the Rapper, and he does a video with Backstreet Boys, where he does a remix of their whatever their big song was, and then at the end it's like flaming hot Doritos, and it's like something now it's hot, and basically just being like, man, that's actually good. There I am wandering around.
Here we go. Hello, everybody. I'm Chef Ben. This is Dinner with Ben, brought to you by Ashworks Cutting Boards and Atlantic Livestream. And this evening I'm joined by my friend Mike Tanner of One Red Cap Media. As you'll notice, the camera looks a little different today. We don't have all the fancy angles. Atlantic Livestream couldn't make it, but that is all right. Hello, Cassie. Hello, Bob. So, Mike, how this is going to work is we'll see comments, we can respond, you can ask questions, and they'll answer you. And this will bump up in a few minutes.
I can do that.
So, I was saying to Mike before we went to air that I didn't realize that everything was closed today. So, I had to eliminate a few things from the menu. I was going to do some different vegetables, but I'll pretty much have our root vegetables. So that's what we're going to use. I was going to make a chocolate fudge sauce, but I have none of the ingredients, despite what my wife says. I have none of the ingredients to do that.
I feel like we could still pull it off. But...
You be quiet, too. So what we're going to do is, I didn't even tell you what we were having for dessert. We're going to have banana splits with homemade caramel sauce. I have some ice cream, we have some peanuts. I don't even know if I have maraschino cherries. We'll hand whip some cream. We'll make it work. It's okay. This is going to be kind of a...
All else we can make cookies.
Shut up. This is going to be... a little different, I think, than normal, but that's okay. So, as I said, this is my guest, Mike Tanner. Mike, hello.
Yes.
Mike owns One Red Cap Media, which is a digital marketing agency. Is that correct?
That's the best
How would you describe it?
Exactly those words.
Perfect. I nailed it.
Yeah, we do a whole bunch of things, basically anything regarding the content for companies. So we do website development, we do blogging, we do social media management, we do podcasting consulting, we help with basically, we describe it as however you want to be online, we help you do those things.
Well, there you go. Yeah. So if anybody has any online needs, this is the man to turn to. So I didn't tell you this before you came, I don't think.
Forward to whatever it is.
But the guest does all the cooking.
It's fine.
So you're going to do everything until I get frustrated and take over.
Last time we did this together, that happened very, very quickly.
Hi, Sue. Hi, Christina. It did. It sure did. So, first thing we need to do is pop the oven on. I'll take care of that since all ovens are a little different. We're going to put it on 400.
Okay.
400 degrees.
Okay.
And I'm going to turn this pan on to medium. Okay? Hello, Miss Juanita. Hello, Christine. Hello, Sue. Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Can't wait to have a taste. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
So you asked to do roast beef.
I specifically did this because last week I just decided on a whim that I would buy a roast and make it, and I ended up basically throwing away about half of that in the end because I just literally was like, I could just make a roast, and then I just threw it in an oven, and that did not go super well.
Okay,
so
cool.
I wanted professional help on how to make a roast.
We can do that. Hello, Patrick. Hello, everybody. Okay, so we have ovens on 400. We have our pan on, cast iron pan, which we're going to pop in the oven, and it's just on kind of a medium-high heat. All right, so we have here, do you know what this is?
That, is it a...
Hello, Clarence.
It's pork, or is it beef?
Are you messing with me?
It's definitely a sirloin beef roast.
That's true.
Yes, it is.
It is. It's a top sirloin. That is correct. I mean, you were joking about the pork thing, right?
I was.
Okay, good.
I actually said it.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised.
I can usually. So, how do you really tell the difference between like a pork, like from looks, like what would look really different?
Well, the pork
It's
is
a lot.
pork is pink.
Right. This is a lot.
This is red.
like red
Yeah.
bread. Yeah. All right.
That's about it. And
Okay.
with pork, you generally can't see the line of the muscle fibers as much.
Yeah.
That's about it. Okay, so we need to season this guy up.
Okay.
So salt and pepper, we have just kosher salt here
Okay.
and just fresh cracked pepper, so you'll just give that a nice season. So I'm going to stop you there.
Perfect.
So the higher you go, the more evenly distributed the pepper's going to be.
Yeah. So if I'm right low to the ground, it's going to be
Exactly. You'll just get
just
big
on it.
clumps. I'll turn that around for
Yeah.
you. Okay, I'm salt it.
You're good there? Now, do you do some kind of weird throw?
No, just same thing. You just want to
Just
go
kinda-
high, yeah.
I'm just.
Yeah.
I honestly at home, salt and pepper are two of the only things I use when I make most meat. Like I just.
That's really like mostly all you need, especially for this where it's going to pick up so much flavor from the vegetables.
Yeah.
We're going to sear. We're just waiting for the pan to heat up.
We're working on it, Brian.
Brian's excited.
Brian's very excited about this meal.
Okay, so while we're waiting for the pan to heat up, which it's getting there,
Yeah.
I'm going to set this aside.
Yeah.
And we're going to get going on this veg.
Okay.
So we'll worry about the potatoes in a little bit.
Okay.
So first thing we need to do is the sweet potato and squash.
Okay. Do you want to know how I think I would do
Sure.
it? Is that what we're going to do?
Sure.
So normally with squash, I usually cut off the bulb.
Yep.
Right? You're about there. Pretty close. And then I cut off the ends. Try and get as close as possible. I don't like to waste a lot of food. And then do you peel or you actually just cut it?
We're going to peel it.
We're going to peel it? Okay.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, we'll peel it.
Okay. So I can put that there. And then...
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
It's okay. It's okay.
I heard you. Sorry.
What else do I need to... I don't really need to do... Well, yeah. Yeah, I need to cut that.
So I'm gonna. If you start with the back of your knife, you're gonna have a lot easier time cutting through that.
What do
So
you
if
mean?
you-
Oh, start to back here.
Yeah. You know what I mean? You get way more.
Yeah.
Way more power.
And a great chef once told me that I should do this instead of
That's a smart
this,
person.
which it's for maximum downward throw.
Exactly. I'm gonna stop you real quick because our
Yeah.
pan is starting to smoke.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna put a few drops of olive oil in here.
Okay.
I'm gonna let you do that.
So you wait until it's.
Yeah, because if you put the oil in first, then the oil's gonna smoke before the pan's hot. You're not
Okay.
actually gonna
Is that
know.
good or
A little bit more.
a little bit more?
We want about a tablespoon. That's good there.
There we go.
Then we're just gonna pop this in.
Okay. Any particular way I need to
No.
do this? Just
Perfect.
put it down. Okay.
And that's it. And then we're just gonna let that sit.
Okay. Perfect.
So if you want to wash your hands, we'll
Yep.
get back to this stuff. Hello, Steve. Hello, everybody. Anybody have any questions yet? Again, I forgot that the grocery stores were closed today, so we're changing the menu up a little tiny bit.
It's still pretty close. There's not too much difference. So,
That's-
peeler?
No.
No.
Well, you need to use a peeler.
I usually, yeah. So I would
So if I were you, I would cut this in half
cut it again in
first.
half.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Like a pro. And I should say, I didn't give you any knife instruction before we
No,
were there. Usually
no.
I do because they get frustrated now because I have to stop the class all the time and do long knife lessons. But you're doing really well.
I like to chop stuff. Like one of the things that I actually do the most at home, like my wife's a much better cook than I am, but I do most of the chopping, so I actually enjoy doing it. So.
Hi, Donna. Hello. For all the new people who just joined, this is my guest, Mike Tanner.
Hey guys.
He is the owner of One Red Cat Media. He's a podcast extraordinaire, public speaker, event organizer, father, husband, all-around cool guy.
All the things. All of the things.
Did I miss anything? I'm sure I did.
Author.
Author, right, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So, Mike, you can take a look at this.
Yeah.
See that color?
Yep.
So we're going to give that a flip.
Okay. So we're not cooking it, we're just
getting color on it.
And that's
Color's
just-
going to have flavor. Hey, Steve.
my understanding too is that actually seals in some of the juices when it comes time to cook
That is inaccurate.
it. Really?
So that was
Because that is
it's a common misconception that was around for a very, very long time. But if you look at this, it there's still a hole between the muscle fibers.
Right, so it's still going to get out.
All you're doing is just developing flavor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do you have particular oils that you like to use for different things, or do you usually use like one oil for almost everything?
I have two. I usually use olive oil and canola oil. That's about it.
We use almost entirely avocado oil.
Really?
Yep.
Any particular? Well, I mean, your wife is.
My wife, honestly, it is good, but it's Costco. Like it's like, okay, this is inexpensive, and we like the flavor that it adds. So, okay.
So
how do you do this? You
so there's a spoon. Yep. Okay. Throw a spoon there. And we'll just scoop those right into there. Steve says hello.
Hey, Steve.
Hello, Michael. Hello, everybody. So as always, if anybody has any questions at all throughout this whole process, for me, for Mike, for anything, feel free to ask, and we'll answer them as best we can. So we're going to turn this over onto the final side here.
Okay. I will tell anyone who is watching that I'm super excited that a little bit of news for me, the only sort of real instant news is that I am going to be speaking again this year at Social Media Day Halifax about podcasting, particularly about how to plan a podcast and then how to promote a podcast when you're done. So I get to speak at a lot of different stuff, but it's kind of one of my favorite things to do. And the event was super fun last year, and so I get to do it again this year.
So what we're going to do is just cut a nice big slices.
Okay.
And same with this. We'll just nice big slices.
I'll do that.
And you have 5 podcasts? 4?
I have, that's a great question. I have 3 that are sort of active podcasts. They are, in no particular order, Riding in Cars with Cats, which is sort of my business podcast. There is Mostly Spoilers, which is sort of a pop culture podcast that myself and a friend just have together. And then the newest one, which actually you and I are going to hopefully record a little bit later, is called Chip Off the Old Block, which is a podcast about potato chips. In general, I have had a couple of other things I've sort of started and then stopped. I had one for my book, Really Little Wins, but a lot of the content was really just duplicating from Riding in Cars with Cats. And I've had a couple of other small ones like that, but now, I'm not fantastic at onions, I don't believe, but here's how I do it. I cut the end off.
Yep. So this guy, we're actually just going to slice.
We're actually just going to slice?
Yeah. So what we can
Does that change how I'm going to do this?
So what we'll do is we'll actually just kind of peel this.
Okay.
So we're going to cut it in like rings.
Okay.
So we're just going to peel it. And I just took the pan off the heat there.
Okay. Should I turn the oven
no, because we're going to jump right back on it.
Okay.
So I'm just going to get you to...
Yep.
Now it's going to be a little slippery.
Okay.
So what I would recommend...
So you cut a little...
Exactly.
Yep.
Just a tiny little...
So I just do like this, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And that'll just let it sit
flat. And that'll
flat
keep
there.
it sit flat.
So we'll start on this side, and that'll keep everything together.
Oh, okay, yeah. See, I always cut off the core...
See, normally... what were you saying?
Well, I was going to say, for some reason, I always cut off both ends. And then I sort of go from there. But then I realized that it falls apart as I go through.
Exactly.
I never thought to do it this
leave
way.
the root on and it'll stay together, especially if you're dicing the onions.
Okay.
Hello, Mary.
Now, how do I make it so I can cut without cutting my fingers off? Like, I usually just sort of go like that. And,
I mean, that's about
but
it.
it just sort of slips.
So at this point, I would stop.
Yep.
Let me see. Put the onion down.
So you sort of start with it like that,
Yeah.
and then flip it back up.
Yeah.
So I would sort of go like this, then flip it up,
Exactly.
and put it down.
Yeah.
All right.
So then we're going to do same thing with the sweet potato, just slices.
Okay.
Skin on.
We're skin on? Okay.
Actually, let's get that out first.
Okay.
So we'll get that going.
Okay.
So the way this is going to work is we seared the beef in the cast iron pan. We took it out, set it aside. We're going to throw all this veg in that pan, get it nice and hot, put the beef back in, and then we're going to pop it in the oven. We're going to cook it all together. The only thing we're going to cook separately is the potatoes. So we're we're making like almost like a ratatouille with the beef on top.
I have both never had a ratatouille, nor have I seen the classic animated film.
You've not seen that movie?
I've not.
It's based on my life. I used to live in the sewers in Paris.
Okay.
I wandered into this restaurant. This guy put me under his hat.
Oh, so you were the rat, not the
I was the
chef.
rat.
Okay. Sorry, I got confused.
Okay, so the zucchini's gonna cook quicker than everything else.
Right.
So we're gonna put this back on the heat.
Okay.
We'll get everything in the pan, and then we'll add the zucchini. So we're gonna pretty much just gonna throw everything in here.
Okay.
A little bit more oil though, because you can see there's not much in there.
And I can't just like, it's getting warm.
Yeah, the handle will get hot. Okay, let's drop everything in here.
I was really excited when we got our first like cast iron pan that I could put. We got one of the rock or whatever, and it was one we could put in the oven.
Yeah.
And then I remembered that when you put a pan in the oven, when you go to take it out of the oven, the handle is also hot.
Yeah. Just throw it in. Kind of layers in there, best you can. You're gonna season this stuff.
Oh, that's down.
Oh no.
Yeah.
You're fired.
Everything's ruined now.
You're fired. A little bit of salt and pepper.
Okay.
Okay, go for it.
You want these guys in there?
Yeah.
Yep.
Michael, we're making sirloin beef roast with roasted vegetables and mashed potatoes, and then we're making banana splits. A little different today. We're going to make some homemade caramel sauce.
I'm a big caramel fan.
And we're going to make some garlic aioli, some classic garlic aioli.
Do you also want rounds for this?
Yeah, but a little bit thicker.
A little bit thicker, okay. Like about there?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not a big chocolate guy. I'm like a butterscotch, caramel. That's my... I found out that my mom is not a big chocolate person, so apparently when I was a kid, butterscotch and caramel was sort of where we were at. He's good to go now?
Yeah, and then just put a little bit more oil.
Okay, just on there.
Yeah, just kind of lubricate the top a bit. A little bit more salt and pepper.
Now, is there a reason that you have salt like that instead of like a salt grinder, or?
I don't really like salt grinders. I find that salt generally clogs them up pretty quick.
Yeah.
And I don't use salt shakers because I use like a really coarse ground salt, right? And because in restaurants, we just my whole life I've just been grabbing salt out of the dish.
Yeah.
So we have our beef here with all of our vegetables layered in.
What's ridiculous?
And it's going to pop in the oven. Oh shit!
I think that's the wrong.
Yeah, I forgot to do that. And that's going to go for about 30 minutes and then we'll check it.
Okay.
And again, the oven's on 400 degrees. Okay, so now we need to peel some potatoes.
Okay.
So I do.
Do you have a good peeler? I hate bad peelers.
No, that'll change your
That's
life.
fine. It won't. I actually just got a new peeler that I really enjoy. Is there any particular method to peeling that I need to know?
No, just take all the peel off.
Take all the peel off. That's a good strategy.
Hello,
really.
Len. How are you doing? So what's the problem with peelers? What do you?
Well, I just feel I'm not the most dexterous of fellas.
Yeah.
So I find a bad peeler, I'm just like fumbling with stuff. This actually isn't bad. We had this like awful peeler, like one of the little metal ones that's super thin, and I couldn't stand that. We had a great one that my wife left at Girl Guide Camp one time. It was like this nice clunky, so I like a big clunky peeler. I just got a new one at IKEA actually that I really
Like that?
enjoyed. Yeah. That's sort of what
I hate these things.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? What's your reason for?
I just the way it's used. It's not a natural movement for me. And I find that these are we call these speed peelers because you can peel a lot quicker. And like this one, it's like a $8 peeler, and I've had it for like 7 years, and it's still yeah. I love it.
The one peeler I got, which I feel might have been like a Starfrit or something like that, which was our good one, had a nice, like, the handle was nice and like clunky, kind of felt good. I could do it pretty quickly. This one is not that bad, actually. But I've had versions of this peeler that I really hated.
Yeah, you gotta spend it was like $10 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And, I mean, you gotta spend that to get, but it's lasted me 5 years or however long. But yeah, there's like the cheap metal ones that are, yeah.
Those, literally, it's just like, well, let's see how fast I can.
The other thing I like about these, can I see this for a second?
Yeah.
Is that this pops off so you can clean it.
Yeah.
See?
That's smart.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that a lot.
That's pretty fantastic.
Anybody have any questions? Team Mike on the peeler. I find them soothing.
Soothing, nice. Peeling is like the one task that when my wife asks me to do, she knows I'm not going to enjoy it. Like, I love chopping things. I love cutting things. I don't mind any of that.
Do you want me to do that?
No. This is payback for making me...
For the cookies.
For the cookies.
Yeah.
Yeah, peeling just is not something I enjoy, which is why, like, if I'm, like, most dishes I'm making, unless it's something I have to peel, I just leave peels on. Like, if I'm cooking carrots, I just leave peels on. I don't.
Yeah.
We buy most things organic from the market, so it's like we're not buying a whole bunch of pesticides and that kind of stuff. So,
with carrots and stuff, I usually leave the peels on, except for like very specific kind of applications.
yeah.
But like, look, we were talking about before we went to air the russet potatoes for mash. That's not something you want to.
I want water in this. Is that correct?
Yeah. Cold water, please.
Cold water. Yeah.
Mike, Steve from Ashworks wants to know what you use for a cutting board at home.
I used to use two different cutting boards. I used I don't yet currently use an Ashworks wood cutting board, but we have a couple of like okay wood cutting boards that I've actually liked. Not as thick and clunky as I would really like. Like I like a nice, big, heavy, which we don't have, but we also have. We had a glass cutting board, which I was always told to use for meats, and then you were like, please don't do that, you're destroying your knives. And so we got rid of that. So I just have some nice wood cutting boards.
That's good. So we're going to
chop these first? Or?
Yeah, we'll just dice them up a bit. They don't have to be too fine.
Okay.
Katie asks, or says she just got home from work. She missed the beginning. She knows we're having roast, but what else? So we just put a roast in the oven with a whole bunch of vegetables layered under it. So we're going to roast the vegetables with the beef. Juice from the beef will help season the vegetables, and the vegetables, steam from the vegetables will help to season the meat. We're making some mashed potatoes. Then we're going to make some caramel sauce and some garlic aioli for. Well, the garlic aioli is not.
The garlic aioli doesn't go with the banana split.
It does not go with the banana split. The garlic aioli will be for the beef, and it's a very classic sauce. And we'll explain that in a few minutes. And then we're making banana splits. And I was going to do a chocolate fudge sauce. But I forgot the grocery stores weren't open today, and I don't have the ingredients.
Well, you have the ingredients, but...
Everybody's telling me I have the ingredients, but nobody's telling me that as a chef. That's what I would say.
No. I'm literally just saying you have the ingredients because your wife said you have the ingredients.
Because my wife just gave me the years, yeah.
It's funny when I sort of said that thing about the garlic aioli going in the thing. I was in Yarmouth one time with some family, and we had this nice, like, sort of roast dinner with a whole bunch of stuff, and I asked, oh, is that stuff in the pan, is that gravy? Like, can I put that on this when we're kind of making it later? And someone who clearly was not paying attention was like, oh, yep, 100%. And what it was some caramel sauce that they had burnt, that they had just left there to clean up later. So turns out that doesn't taste fantastic on a roast dinner, burnt caramel sauce. Yeah, that's my...
Yeah.
That was a lesson I learned. Don't listen to people.
Well, that's not a very good lesson, Mike.
Don't listen to
just
certain
period.
people.
Don't listen to people.
Just period. Don't listen to people.
Hi, Jack.
Jack. That's my son's name. Hi, Jack.
It's my father-in-law.
Is it really?
Yeah.
It's a good name. It was not actually supposed to be my son's name. And then when he was born, my wife was sort of being taken care of. And I was just looked at him, I was like, Jack, I think that's his name. And like an hour and a half later, my wife was like, did you name our kid Jack? And I was like, yeah, that's a good name, eh? And she was like, yeah, you don't get to do this anymore.
What was it supposed to be?
We had a list of like 5 boys' names. There was like Mark, Andrew, Ryan, Jake, and Luke, I think, were the top 5.
I think Jack's better than those.
I just looked at him and I was like, yeah, he's a Jack. That's what he is. And so there we go. So we had a lot of conversations before my second child as to exactly what the child's name would be. So
We just get some angry faces. I don't know why.
why?
I don't know. Sometimes people hit the wrong button,
Yeah,
or they're just mad. Hi, Ruby.
Maybe
Jack
they're
says it's a
angry.
great name.
it is a great name, Jack.
Although Jack's
Now, is Jack's name is John?
It is John.
It is John.
Yeah.
We get asked, like, basically, anyone over the age of about 40 who meets us asks if it's John because that was such a common.
See, I don't understand why.
I have no idea why it was. I know it is, like, but I literally have no idea why that came about.
Oh, so yeah, I don't know.
My son has actually decided he would like to change his name. He would like his new name to be Alexander Ovechkin because he knows that that's my least favorite hockey player. And he likes to troll me. So,
How old's your son?
7.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good. You got a little troll. I like it.
Yeah, he's pretty entertaining that way. So, Chef Ben, what is your favorite food in the whole world?
That question.
You hate that question?
I do.
What is a food that you hate? What is a food that you're like, no, I will not eat that?
There's.
Or an ingredient that you're just like, no, that's garbage.
I mean, there's nothing that I'm like. I mean, there's a couple of things like I'm allergic to shellfish.
So you don't love
I
shellfish,
don't like,
okay?
and gluten.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, I don't know, man. There's not much I won't try.
What are your feelings on sauerkraut?
I have a jar of it that I made in my fridge right now. Same with I have kimchi too, which
I'm
is like the
leaving.
Korean sauerkraut.
I'm leaving. Sauerkraut is garbage.
I don't know, man. There's not much. There's not much I won't try.
There's very few foods I won't at least try a couple times. So.
I think Seuss could probably answer that question better than I could.
About what you don't
Yeah,
like?
because I'm always like, oh, I don't like this, but I don't actually think about it.
Right.
You know?
Sarah, it's the same thing with me. Like, Sarah will ask me, like, I will say to Sarah all the time, oh, I'll eat anything. And she'll be like, no, you won't. I have made anything, and you won't actually eat it. You say you will, and then you don't like it. Yeah. What's something, can we have from the peanut gallery, what's something that Chef Ben does not like to eat?
I heard, and it came out of my
Yeah,
mouth.
she's come out for this.
Any meat that's like overcooked.
Well, that's
Oh, so, yeah, you don't like overcooked meat.
yeah. I don't like overcooked meat. I don't like things that are gross, like things that are poorly cooked.
Right.
But other than that, like I don't know, I'm pretty.
See, I for a long time was terrified of the idea of eating undercooked meat. Like, I was terrified of the idea, like, clearly I'm going to die if this isn't black. And that's the way I sort of started eating things. And then, yeah, now I don't mind.
So Jack says lawyers and bankers call me John, and I hang up the phone. Hello Trinity, and then Jack says Reuben sandwiches are the best. Dig in your sauerkraut. Agreed. Reuben sandwiches are delicious.
That's fine. I feel like I could probably get behind a Reuben sandwich with sauerkraut on it. But
Yeah.
I just couldn't, like, people who are just like, oh, I just like to have sauerkraut on the side of this dish. I'm like, no, I have
Hey,
no...
one of the best things, it's called Shukru Carne. So Shukru is like the French term for sauerkraut.
Okay.
And essentially it's a whole bunch of different pork products like smoked pork, bacon, sausages, salami, all this stuff, just cooked in sauerkraut with like potatoes and carrots. It is incredible. And you have like a big heap and pile of
Okay.
hot mustard on top of it.
I think I would like sauerkraut better too in a cooked dish more than like as a sort of garnish to things as I've typically had it.
Yeah. Ruby says Solomon Gundy. I do not like Solomon Gundy.
What is Solomon
Pickled,
Gundy again?
pickled fish, essentially. I do not like pickled fish. I love smoked fish. But
Yeah.
I can't get behind pickled fish. Thank you, Ruby.
That's right.
Yeah, Mike. The recipes will be listed tomorrow or Wednesday, depending on when I get around to do it. Why do you do not cook? I don't.
Why?
Oh, I see. They're talking to each other.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh no, I can't eat well done meat, Trinity. Well, it depends on like. I don't know.
What is it?
Oh, Trinity says she's got to have her meat well
done meat. I now
Can't
have
do it.
started having like medium or even medium rare and just been like, this is magic. Like,
Yeah, well, it really depends on the cut, right?
Yeah.
So like a ribeye, you generally aren't going to want to eat rare because of the fat. You want to
Right.
eat that like more closer to like a mid rare at the lowest, and like a medium kind of is better, because then the fat starts to melt and flavor the meat.
Yeah.
But then like a tenderloin, you want that rare, because it's just gonna melt in your mouth.
Yeah. See, like a burger, I like pretty, like, people who are like, oh, I want a burger done medium rare or like medium. I'm like, no, I want a burger like.
Yeah. So the problem
Cooked.
with that is when you grind meat, you're creating all this new surface area for bacteria to get to.
Okay.
Like, because there's no bacteria really inside the meat, right?
Yeah.
So once you grind it, you're creating all the surface area. So technically in Nova Scotia, we're not supposed to serve burgers anything less than well done, unless we've ground the meat ourselves and like are aware.
Yeah.
So if you're just buying ground beef, you definitely should not eat your burger less than well done.
See, I know a lot of people who are like, oh, medium, like I'd like a little bit of pink or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, I'd like a little bit of continue to live.
If you're grinding yourself, it's fine. Just knock the horns off, and Jack says.
I love it.
Ruby said she heard me say before I didn't like Solomon Gundy. Well, thank you for reminding me, because I do not like it. I bought a jar thinking that maybe I would. Turns out, no.
I don't think there's a ton of stuff that I don't like to eat. Like I generally, I like to try most things. Yeah. My wife makes some pretty creative stuff because she does a lot of like substitutions for things. And so like, for example, like our like big birthday cake that we make for most birthdays, the icing is squash. The icing is mostly the recipe calls for sweet potato, but my son can't have potato, so then she turns it into squash.
Sweet potato and potato aren't the same thing, though.
No, but from what he's allowed to have, he's also like.
But he can have squash.
He can have squash. He can't have sweet potato, and he can't have potato. It has to. I don't know what it has to do with. I was gonna make something up, but I'm not a doctor, and my wife is, so we'll just leave it at that. She often tells me that to remind me that I am not a doctor. Yeah.
Okay, we need to make some aioli.
Obviously. No, I'm good. This is funny for me.
I'll fill you up. So, when you go to restaurants nowadays, oftentimes you'll go and the menu will have like 6 different aiolis listed. Like, like sun-dried tomato aioli, basil aioli, whatever it is, right? All that is things mixed with mayonnaise.
I was like, isn't it mayo? Like.
So, that's like everything that we see now in restaurants that's listed as an aioli is something mixed with mayonnaise. That's it. What we're going to make is an actual aioli. So traditionally aioli is garlic and oil emulsified together. Okay. That's like it.
Okay.
So that's what we're going to do.
So it's more like a dressing than a dip. Like.
No, it's going to look like mayonnaise.
Oh,
it's going to get that consistency.
Okay.
But all it is oil and garlic.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is just break this bulb of garlic up. We're going to kind of chop it roughly.
Okay.
Throw it in here with a little tiny bit of salt, just as a kind of act as an abrasive. We'll grind it up, and then we'll slowly start drizzling oil in it.
Okay.
And this is like, this is like a classic French bistro thing. Classic with steak, really classic with like French fries, or like moule frites, so like mussels on one side, fries on the other, and then aioli in the middle. So that's what we're going to make. Okay. So you want to start busting
What's the best way to do garlic? Because I've never...
So...
I've usually broken it apart first and then just taken it piece by piece. And
yeah, I mean, you can do that, but since we're using the whole bulb, all you have to do...
Cut off the
cut right down through.
Okay.
Which sometimes there's like a really hard stem in the middle, which can... But this one, it's really small.
Okay,
so fine. And then we're just going to give them a...
We're just gonna...
Yeah, you miss one. And then we're just going to give them a crush.
Okay.
And then the peel comes right off.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And do you crush with your hand, not with the knife?
You can do it either way.
I think it looks really cool to do with the knife.
Yep.
So I like to do that. We'll
have to give them a little chop.
Yeah. Garlic is one of the only things that we actually grow. We've tried all kinds of different stuff on our... Oh, I did that too hard. On our property. We can grow berries and we can grow garlic. So we grow like 96 bulbs of garlic a year, basically. And then we use that for the year.
I love garlic.
My wife is a big garlic fan.
I buy the 3-packs at the grocery store, and I go through them in less than a week. I go through so much garlic.
Like we literally grow 90 to 100 bulbs, and then we still buy garlic like constantly. But I will say I do like our own garlic.
It's so much better than the store-bought stuff.
So good.
Well, especially because all of our garlic is either coming from California or China.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, like this time of year for sure.
Right.
And generally it's all coming from China or California.
See, that's crazy to me because it's like garlic is something that can be grown here.
Yeah.
Like,
but we
it's a super hardy.
We just don't.
Wow. Interesting. You want this chopped?
Just really roughly.
Okay. Like that, roughly?
So what I would do is just kind of throw all this in
put
here.
it all together.
And then just kind of run over it a few times.
Do it really nicely like that. I have to do the whole...
That's okay, you're doing good. So, you've mentioned a few times, unprompted, about your book. So I guess I'll bring it up.
Sure. I guess that was unprompted. I didn't really mean to do that totally on purpose. I wrote a book. It's available basically through me. I just self-published it through Gumroad, but it's called Really Little Wins.
What's Gumroad?
Gumroad is actually a platform that lets you basically sell stuff pretty easily. So if you make your own content, if you make a video you want to sell, or you make a book you want to sell, or anything like that.
So it's like WooCommerce or Shopify or something like that?
Really similar, but sort of more basic. Like it basically just creates a checkout, more or less, for people to buy your stuff. So the book I wrote is called Really Little Wins. I wrote it because I was coaching some small business clients on some organizational stuff they were struggling with. And also the idea that people kind of think like they didn't accomplish a whole bunch of stuff. So they would be like, today I was going to do these 3 things. I didn't do any. And then what we kind of worked with them on is the idea if you broke those down into smaller and smaller pieces, they might have done 8 of the 10 things that made up that one thing. So we looked a little bit more at like building out your goals a little bit better and basically realizing that you did a lot more probably than you thought you did. And so yeah, I wrote this book called Really Little Wins based on some client interactions, and yeah, that's my thing.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get the garlic in here. Helen asks, how am I going to get the garlic smell out of my cutting board? So, in all honesty, the smell of garlic in my cutting board doesn't bother me at all. I don't mind it one bit. But this cutting board has been used so much, and there's so much oil in it, that I find the smells don't really stay. Yeah, just a big pinch. But if you do find an issue with having the smell of garlic in your board, you can go to Ashworks and get one of these beautiful little garlic smash boards, they call them.
Nice.
Specifically for dealing with garlic.
Yeah.
So then you don't have garlic in your board. But generally, I just wash it with soap and water, and I'm all good.
Yeah. Do you so I know you can like oil your boards and stuff. Is that something you do regularly? Like,
yeah, I do it. I do it like once or twice a week generally.
Okay.
But I use beeswax.
You use beeswax.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Ashworks has these little things of beeswax.
Yeah.
At their shop, I think you can probably buy them online. Yes, guys. And yeah, I just rub this into my board.
Okay.
Every 4 or 5 days, or like I'll notice it'll start to get dry a little bit.
Yeah.
Rub it in, it's good to go.
Oh, nice.
I use my board more than most people because I take it with me and everything, right? So most people won't need to worry about it that much.
I want to mash this now.
Yeah. Have you ever used a mortar and pestle?
I have not. I've never used a mortar and pestle. So what do I need to know?
So really, you're just kind of gonna use the weight of
so I'm not really pushing
whichever
down,
one this is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember which one the part is. And then you're just kind of gonna push down. And so if you feel inside, it's kind of rough.
Yep.
And that with the salt and with the end of this will brown the garlic.
Okay. Do you sort of hold like that, or do you do like...
Either way, whatever's more comfortable. Donna says, keep your board well oiled and wash immediately after with soap and water. Yep. Trinity says she used to hate garlic. She loves it now. Ben, your tips on how to create garlic potatoes have been a huge help. Oh, thank you, Trinity. I'm glad to hear that. Hello, Chantel. Yeah, Jack says fresh garlic is so different than the powdered.
Oh.
Absolutely.
Like,
people ask me a lot about buying the like the pre-chopped garlic you can get at like Costco or the grocery store.
Yeah.
I'm very firmly against that stuff. Like, I should say, like, if you want to use it, knock yourself out. For me, I find it has a weird taste. And garlic that's going to last for a year in oil in your fridge I have some questions about it. It doesn't seem. Well, it has to be pasteurized because garlic grows in the dirt. Oil is an anaerobic environment, so botulism can grow if it's not pasteurized. So the garlic has to be heated to a certain temperature to kill any bacteria. So it's already slightly processed, so it's already got a different flavor than...
Can I ask, I'm always blown away with like how much of the science of food that you know.
Yeah.
Is that something that you learned like when you're studying to be a chef, or is that stuff you've just decided to pick up along the way? Because it boggles my mind that you're like, oh, well, these are the exact scientific reasons why all these things happen.
Well, what do you mean by studying to be a chef?
Well, like...
Because like I didn't go to culinary school, right?
No.
I love food, man. So I learned.
So you just literally worked in kitchens and then went from there.
Well, I did get my red seal.
But you got your red seal.
But I studied for.
But you have to study for that part. So is part of that studying, like, do you have to know that much stuff?
A little bit, but not a lot of that side of things. It's mostly like, how do you make shoe paste? How do you what's the difference between this and that?
I just find it really interesting, like on your podcast all the time. Like, I'm always just blown away that you're like, oh, and here's something that like there's no way you would possibly know about this thing. Like, I find that part really interesting.
Well, thank you. I find it interesting too. So like after this, I'll show you my cookbook collection, and you'll understand. You'll have a better understanding of why.
All right, is this? Are we looking?
We're gonna keep going.
We're
getting there. So if you look, you guys can't see this. I'm sorry we don't have the more detailed cameras today. But if you see, it's kind of getting a little creamy. Yeah. So that's the oil from the garlic already coming out and emulsifying into itself. Okay. So once we get this a little more broken up, we'll start adding olive oil, and that'll continue.
Yeah. So okay. I'm just gonna put some more of this back in.
So if you start noticing it on the edge, you can just grab this and then just kind of
do like a
spin right around. You can see it's even. Right? Okay. This is like one of the oldest kitchen tools in existence. The mortar and pestle has been around for millennia.
It's such an easy.
And every culture on the planet developed pretty much the exact same tool.
That's always bananas to me when like different cultures end up like, instead of being like, oh, we got fireworks from this place and we got this spice from this place, but like cultures across the planet being like, okay, we need a way to match stuff. Yeah. Let's all invent the exact same thing to do that way.
Yeah. No, it's really cool. What I find interesting, which is a little different than that, but is like now we think of ingredients as like very specific to a region, or like as being like the definitive aspect of a culture's cuisine, like tomatoes in Italian food. Right. But tomatoes didn't exist in Italy until the late 1500s. Right. Same with chili in India. It didn't exist until the Spanish came to the New World, took the chilies from Mexico and Latin America, and then shipped them there. But Indian cuisine is synonymous with spice and heat, but it didn't exist there. Same with, it goes the other way, like cumin and cilantro, which are classic Mexican ingredients, didn't exist there until they were brought from India. Yeah. So that's partly why Mexican and Indian cuisine have so much in common, because they just like exchanged all these different ingredients.
Did you watch? Did you watch David Chang's Ugly Delicious?
I did.
You sound like you did not like it.
There's one thing I didn't
What is it? What is it you did not like about it? Let's go with that.
So I feel like I might get in trouble for this.
I can't wait.
So I'm a big David Chang fan. I have been for a long, long time.
Yep.
But one thing he said, and I might be misremembering it, I really hope I'm not, but essentially he said along the lines that it wasn't alright for white people to make ethnic food and make money off it. But this is coming from a classically French-trained chef. Right. Who is of Korean descent.
Who grew up in Virginia.
Exactly. I honestly believe that food should kind of transcend nationality. And also, one of his closest friends is Ivan Ramen, who went to Japan and became like the most prolific ramen creator in the entire country.
I think, if I remember correctly, part of it was more so him talking that it wasn't okay for, because I think it actually was when he was talking about Chinese food, maybe? Or was it about... But I think what he was talking about was more so the idea that, why should it be considered like a delicacy and like a great thing when these people make it, but it's considered like a street food and kind of lowly when these people make it? And I think it was more so the idea of the proliferation of well, if a white person opens a restaurant and it's Korean food, it's oh, this is going to be amazing. It's some new thing, and we sort of would lean on those. But we've often had really negative stereotypes about Chinese food restaurants and
Korean restaurants. That's a fair statement.
But no, I understand what you're saying as well. He says more than a few things that I'm like, okay, that's one way to put that. I brought that up just because he was talking about, there's a bunch of stuff in that show about, like, bringing food to different places.
Yeah.
Specifically when he actually does the taco episode. And they talk about, like, worldwide tacos, like, how they've existed in different places and how it came to different places in different ways. And it was quite an interesting, I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, I mean, so, like, Tacos El Pastor, which is probably one of the most famous tacos from Mexico.
Yeah.
It's essentially like pork cooked on a vertical spit, like a donair.
Yeah.
It didn't exist there until the turn of the last century, like the 20s, when all these Lebanese immigrants came.
Yeah.
But that's one of the most famous
Yeah.
tacos in all of Mexican cuisine
Yeah.
now. So, have you ever made a vinaigrette?
No.
Okay, so the principle here is you need to keep mixing while I'm adding oil.
Okay.
If we aren't mixing and I add oil, it's going to build up, and the emulsification isn't going to build properly.
This is typically why this is often done in a blender when you pour in through the top.
Yeah, and we could do this in a blender,
Oh,
but why would we?
fine with
If you're doing
mixed
this at home, you can definitely do this in a blender, but this is way more fun. So we're just literally drops at a time. Hello, Alina. Knowledge comes with experience, agreed. Passion for food is always teaching us and gives us. Oh, thank you, Wendy. I agree. Food is universal. Then you see how different that looks already, just from that little bit of oil.
Yeah.
So, actually, can you just hold that up to the camera
Yep.
for a sec, just
Yep.
so they can kind of get a glance at this? So I hope you can see that, because
I think
it's
might.
starting to look really creamy. We only added like half a teaspoon.
We added
of
like
olive oil.
nothing
Yeah.
of oil and it immediately got creamy.
So we're going to keep going.
Okay. The only thing I find is that it keeps working its way up to the sides and then you're kind of...
I'll go get a spatula.
Spatulas are probably the root of most of the arguments in my house or
Why is that?
kitchen. Because I have a tendency, like, if I'm getting something out of a jar, I can be very wasteful. And my wife is like, get a spatula, scrape the sides, and I'm just like, well, I'm not really going to do that. Wow, this is really neat.
Yeah, it's cool. So this is the exact same principle for making an aioli, or a vinaigrette, mayonnaise,
And yeah, you can make a
hollandaise
mayonnaise
sauce.
sauce.
It's all the exact same. The principle of emulsion is all the.
It's kind of crazy what it suddenly just turns into.
Yeah.
Like it's...
So the only thing we have to watch is that we don't add too much oil, or else we'll overpower the emulsion and we'll be able to hold it.
So is there a certain consistency that we're looking for? Like, is it...
We just want it to be nice and creamy. And we want it to look almost like a mayonnaise. So you gotta.
I gotta keep on, right? Just don't want to hit your bottle.
That's okay.
Can I ask you a question about fish, like fried fish toppings?
Yeah, of course.
Are you a vinegar or a tartar sauce? Or neither?
Depends on
What's
the
your-
day. So, like malt vinegar, I can't have because it's made of barley,
Okay, right.
which has gluten in it.
But you can have regular, like...
I had regular vinegar, but I mean, it's not the same. Yeah, it really depends on the day.
I'm not a vinegar guy.
No?
I love tartar sauce so much. Like,
You ever made it?
tartar sauce? Yeah.
So you see how different that looks? now?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna pull that out of
Yep.
the oven now. Show them now, because it's gonna.
That's
it looks
incredible.
A lot different.
Yeah. Alright, I'm gonna come over here. Whoa! Shoot! You're gonna have to fix the lighting.
Yeah, that's okay. It wasn't exactly precise anyway.
So this has now become super creamy. I'm gonna come super close up here. This. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like, it just... It just really comes
Stop for a
together.
sec.
Yep.
You can give this a poke.
Okay, I want to poke it
Yep.
with my hand. Like,
Yep.
what am I feeling for?
Texture.
Okay.
So you feel like, actually, can you turn
Yep.
just a little bit there?
Yep.
So you can see just how like it's kind of rubbery.
Yep.
So that's still pretty rare.
Right.
And the vegetables aren't done anyway. So we're gonna
Right.
pop
So
that
it'll start to move a little less once it.
The
once it
firmer
goes.
it is, the more cooked
Okay.
it is.
Yep.
We're gonna pop that back
Now
in.
you want to do that instead of puncturing it, because if you puncture it, are you going to lose stuff or not really?
Yeah, I mean when you puncture it, your juice is gonna come out.
Yeah.
But I mean, I understand. Like, and oftentimes I'll use a thermometer too.
Yeah.
But with something like this,
You can.
it's okay.
Yeah.
Potatoes are doing good, so we're almost
Okay.
there with this.
Any questions we have?
I haven't been looking for spatulas or metal handles. Do you remember where you got yours? This little guy I got at Superstore, actually, in like one of the big superstores, in like the just like the kitchenware
kitchen
section.
section,
Yeah, they have a whole like section of like little
We
kind of
have a
kitchen tools.
really cool thing that we have that we got, and I forget the exact name of it. I have to try and remember. I'll message you with it. But they're these like spoons almost, but they're like spatula spoons, and they have like a slight curve on the neck to kind of get in. And they're I can't remember for the life of me what it is, but we've ended up buying them for Christmas gifts for like a lot of family members who like to cook because they're fantastic. Like for cleaning out a jar, like if you got a jar of mayo or you got something like that and you want to get like everything out, these get like everything out.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Jessica wants to know what we're making. We're making top sirloin. Oh, that's where you saw it. We're making a top sirloin beef roast with roasted vegetables, mashed potatoes, garlic aioli, which is what we're making here, and then we're making banana splits with homemade caramel sauce. Yeah. We're almost done the aioli.
Yeah, this, I think if we added, like, I kind of see what you see, like if you, see now I'm starting to get a little,
Yeah, I added a little too much there.
I feel like we might be, I think we're good. I think we're okay. Just want to make sure we don't,
That's a spicy meatball. Holy. If you have any amount of a cold, this will take care of it.
So with my podcast, with Chip Off the Old Block, my potato chip podcast, I eat so many potato chips now, like just a lot. And so I like to try a different thing. So I tried the new Flaming Hot Nacho Doritos. And that'll end your day. I did discover that this week somebody brought them again to our board game night. And I discovered that if you dip them in like a Philly French onion dips, it has a sort of like, almost like a hot wing and blue cheese kind of feel where it kind of cuts it a little bit and you can handle it. But like the first week we tried them, like 6 of us normally we play board games together. We'll eat 3-4 bags of chips a night, like just having snacks as we're playing. We had this bag of chips and then no one ate anything. Like everyone was just like, I don't feel good. This is over.
Next time you come on, we'll have to do or if you come back on, if you'd like to come back on, we should do snack foods. Like we do wings, we do potato chips. I was actually going to make some potato chips for tonight, but completely kind of spaced on it. So here we have our aioli. So it's honestly just like
amazing.
This really creamy mixture. All it is garlic and olive oil. If you give that a little taste, just like a little finger there. Hello, Robert. It's pretty garlicky, right? Well,
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's there's garlic in that.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
But we're not going to put too much of it on the beef, right? Like it's just a little tiny
Right.
bit. And it's really the only kind of seasoning other than salt and pepper that's going to be on the beef.
Yeah.
This, with French fries dipped in it, ooh, and like mussels, oh my god.
I went to the Keg one time with some friends in Ottawa, and they got their prime.
Well, there's your first mistake.
Why?
Go to the Keg. Sorry, I shouldn't say that.
No, you never know when they're going to sponsor your show, right? Not that they would.
They
Just because there would be no reason to be at a restaurant to do it. But my friends were going to the Keg, so we went to the Keg, and I got the prime rib dinner. And I love coleslaw. Love coleslaw. Like, it's my favorite. Like, with
But you don't
barbecue
like
and stuff,
sauerkraut.
I don't like sauerkraut. It's sweeter. Coleslaw's a lot sweeter, right? You don't get that same kind of thing. So, my prime rib dinner comes. This big, huge container of coleslaw. And I scoop this huge scoop of coleslaw and eat it. And it was not coleslaw. It was at that moment that I remembered that I didn't see on the menu that it came with coleslaw, but I did see that it came with horseradish. So I ate like no joke, like a heaping 3 tablespoons of coleslaw just in my mouth of horseradish, and then literally just died. Like I was like, people were asking me if I was okay, and I was like,
I have some horseradish if you want to recreate it.
no, it was
sure?
Oh man, I was off for a day. It was hard.
Yeah, that sounds pretty rough.
Yeah, I'm not the smartest guy. I think that's become pretty obvious through all this.
I do love horseradish though.
I do like horseradish too, actually.
Okay, we just drained our potatoes.
Yes. We gonna mash them?
We do.
Smash them, mash them. What do you?
So we're gonna add some cream in here.
Okay.
Just about a quarter cup.
Okay.
You can use milk, but I have cream here.
My family uses mayo for this actually. They use
Really?
They put mayo in their mashed potatoes.
I've never heard of that before.
It's not bad. It's pretty good. They do a lot of strange things though, so it's, yeah.
What's the reasoning behind it?
No idea. It's creamy. It's like I mean, they don't add a ton, so you don't. It doesn't taste like a potato salad, but you do get that same sort of combo of flavors in a certain way. It's not that.
Anybody heard of that before? Hello, Mish. Sorry to hear about your basement. Michelin's basement flooded.
I have been through that exact same thing, and it is awful.
Has anybody heard of putting mayonnaise in mashed potatoes? That's a first for me. I saw. I don't remember exactly what it was, but somebody had taken mayonnaise and rubbed it on like a turkey or a chicken, I think, and then roasted it.
Okay.
And they kept it like super tender. Horseradish mashed potatoes are really good. I just put those on the menu recently. It's covered by insurance. That's good, Mish. I thought you were talking about the potatoes for a second.
Horseradish is covered by insurance.
Yeah, no one's ever heard of mashed potatoes with mayo in them. That's weird.
I mean, my experience with mayo has been that there's not a whole lot that it doesn't make.
No, I
better.
love mayonnaise. I love it.
When I was a kid, like all my friends would have like French fries with ketchup, and I would just be like mayo. Like
It took me a while to get behind that, actually.
I blame KFC.
What is that?
KFC had those little packets of mayo that they would like throw with their stuff, and so I, as a kid, loved KFC. Like I would get the snackwitches and stuff like that, and we would always get fries with that, and I would do it there. That's where I started doing it.
I always
love
hated KFC's fries. They were
Is
like battered or something. They were always weird.
Yeah, Dairy Queen has the same thing. It's like that kind of
Yeah.
like coating over top of them.
Yeah.
I will say, not that I want to just throw out love to particular restaurants, but I just tried for the first time Lazizo.
Never heard of it.
Lazizo is a Lebanese restaurant in Clayton Park that does burgers, donairs, shawarma, and a lot of poutines. And their burgers, honestly, I was like, okay, it's a solid burger. It doesn't compare with some of my favorites in the city, but it's good. But their poutines, like their fries were perfect. Their donair meat was like unbelievably good, and they're really good. And they have all these different flavors of poutine. So they have like I tried a spicy buffalo poutine and a donair poutine. They're both delicious.
Nice. Yeah. I'll be right back. I forgot something.
Okay.
Fill the dead air.
I'm gonna be right here. I really like potatoes. I do have a podcast called Chip Off the Old Block. I actually had a dream. The reason I have this podcast is that I had a dream that I had a podcast about potatoes, and when I told Twitter, and I was like, ha ha ha, isn't that funny? Twitter was like, ha ha ha, go make that podcast, and now I do. I've never made mashed potatoes with
So we're going to use the ricer because I have it, and I really like the potatoes that come out of it. Because there's just like these really tiny holes. So there's no lumps. You have a masher, just mash them up.
We have one of these for making applesauce.
Oh yeah,
a bunch of different filters on it.
Yeah, this has a couple different ones
Same
too.
kind of thing.
Yeah, so you just turn
Right.
it.
Yep. Is it this way or
No, you're
this
right.
way?
Yeah. And this makes like the creamiest mashed potatoes. This is what I take with me for like dinners and stuff.
Nice.
I used to I have just like this big kind of sieve. That I used to like force the potatoes through. This is so much easier.
We make a lot of our own applesauce and for the kids and stuff, and this is what we use, and it's so easy.
Ranch dressing and mashed potatoes. Never heard of that one either.
Okay.
Interesting.
That makes sense. So it's a very similar concept, I think.
Ruby puts the mayo on whitefish before baking it.
Okay.
Wendy rubs a chicken sometimes with mayo and Dijon before roasting. Hi, Anastasia.
Anastasia. Oh, it's really hot.
Yeah, but
Just burn my hand. I'm fine.
cry, baby, cry.
I am. I have very delicate hands.
That's okay.
I don't think I would have gone well as a chef actually, because my hands are very delicate.
Yeah, they get tough though.
You get calloused
We
up.
don't start with tough hands. We just burn them to the
You
point
don't
where we
decide
can't
like,
feel anything.
oh, they have pretty tough hands. I should probably be a chef.
No, it doesn't work that way.
There's a musician that I work with that had a cheese grater accident last weekend and took off the end of his finger. but he realized that all he actually took off was
The callus?
that he had formed from playing bass for years. And he was like, now I have a regular finger and I have to go back to building a callus.
Oh, guys.
That
looks beautiful.
This is looking really good.
So we're still very close on the beef.
Can I wiggle the beef this
Yeah,
time?
of course.
It's gonna be. Okay, it's less.
Yeah, so
There's still a decent amount of.
that's still a little bit
Give to
rare.
it, yeah.
So we're gonna go probably another 10 minutes.
Okay.
And then I think we're good. You just gotta hold this up one more time for the camera. Beautiful, right? It's nice.
This looks
Nice
really
presentation too.
good. Do you? So can I ask? So as someone who's interested in like, okay, I want to go buy a roast. Are like grocery store roasts okay? Or are you a big proponent of like, look, if you really want a good roast, go to a.
Depends on what it's for. Like, if you're at the grocery store and the roast is on sale and you're like, oh, well, let's get a roast and
Yeah.
do it up.
Yeah.
But if you're having like people over and you want to do something really nice, go to your local butcher, like get something good.
Yeah,
It's definitely worth it.
That's another thing. I literally don't know enough about meats to know like what roast I should get, kind of thing. Like I'm
But
constantly just like, well, there's a pile of meat. I guess I'll put that in something. And
if you go to your butcher and talk to them, they'll tell you what
see,
you
that's
need.
the difference. If I go to Sobeys and I'm like, hey, and they're like, well, there's meat over there. All right.
Wendy says people think we have asbestos. Wendy's a cook as well. Asbestos hands. We take something off a roasting pan straight in the oven. Yeah. I remember like a couple years into my cooking career, I was doing something with my mom, like cooking her dinner or something. I picked up something that was really hot, and she just kind of freaked out. I was like, "Mom, like it's okay."
My
I think I took a pan
grandmother.
out of the oven.
My grandmother was a military chef.
Oh, nice.
And my grandmother could just, like, you could bake something and she would just take it out of the oven with her hands. And
Yeah.
just like, what? Why does my grandmother not have feelings? That looks amazing.
Yeah. So we're just gonna mix this up,
Okay.
and the cream and the butter was hot, so it's gonna keep the temperature of the potatoes.
Okay, yeah. Oh my god, that looks good. Ridiculous.
Yeah. I'll give it a
That's
look, please.
silly. I want to show people this because this just looks.
What do you think of that there?
Oh my god. Perfect.
Just mashed potatoes.
That's that's the thing I've learned like over the years now is that if you just cook stuff properly, it tastes amazing. You don't have to do 1,200 ingredients in a dish for it to actually taste good.
No, that's like, as most of these people watching can attest to, like definitely I am all about simplicity.
Yeah.
I don't believe in super complex dishes. I think that it's unnecessary. If you buy good ingredients and you treat them simply, like one of my favorite things is just roasting vegetables. Just with a little bit of olive oil, salt, and pepper.
Almost every meal at our house, and our kids love it, is we do a pan of roasted vegetables, and then whatever we're having as a side is whatever we're having as a side. But we just almost every time we are in the kitchen, we're making
So good,
roast
and it's so
vegetables.
easy too.
Yeah.
So easy. Okay, we're gonna make some caramel.
Oh yeah.
You're making. Oh, that's hot. that metal part's really hot.
I'm gonna make caramel. I feel like I have, but not for a long time.
Okay. So we're gonna start with some sugar.
Okay.
Just on kind of a medium heat. We're gonna start with about half a cup, or about a cup of sugar.
Okay. And when you say about a cup, you just know how much those things are.
Yeah.
Whereas I literally have no idea how much. Like.
It's 16 of these.
Oh, perfect.
Does that help?
That's helping perfectly.
If you want to measure it, knock yourself out.
No,
But
actually.
it's, with stuff like this, like it doesn't really matter that much.
So it's funny because like when I'm working with clients on stuff and they're like painstakingly going over for example, I had a client who was doing up a MailChimp newsletter to go out, and she was like advertising a couple of classes. It's a yoga studio. She advertising classes, and when we were done doing it, she was like, okay, well, I'll take this home and I'll look over it and blah blah blah. And I was like, nope, you have 1 minute and then we're gonna press send. And she's like, but what if? And I was like, what's the return on investment for that? Like, how much better is it gonna taste if it's like exactly that amount? And like, so my wife loves to cook, and my daughter cooks a lot with her. My daughter's 4, and so I'll often come home and my daughter will just be sitting on the floor with a couple cutting boards, just making whatever she's making. And she just tells her, like, okay, we need about to that line for that.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, for sure my daughter's not making perfect measurements, but everything turns out to be delicious.
With, like, the only time it really matters is with baking, like when you're making a cake, because you need the chemistry to be right. But with what we're doing,
right. Well,
doesn't
that's
matter.
the thing. Like, it's just not, doesn't seem like the return on investment's there.
So he just coats everything with multi-spice.
Right.
Yeah, I know some chefs like that, actually.
Are you going somewhere?
I am going somewhere on
Cool.
Friday. I'm going to the Valley.
Ah, where in the valley?
Greenwood.
Okay.
Oh, no, you guys aren't in Greenwood. I can't remember where I'm going. I know, I have it
To
written
the
down.
Valley, yeah.
I have it written down.
I'm from the valley. That's where I grew up. So.
I didn't know that. Maybe I didn't know that.
I'm from Wolfville originally.
I'm not going to go.
That's too bad. Really, I'm from Grand Prairie, which is just outside Wolfville. And then I grew up in Wolfville and then moved all around and
Nice.
ended up in Halifax.
Beautiful area.
I realize now that when I'm looking down to...
Berwick. I'm going to Berwick.
Berwick, okay. Yeah. We go to the Berwick area quite a bit because at least once a year we go to the Aylesford Zoo.
Oh, there you go.
Oaklawn Farms. I realized that when I lean down to look at the thing, it's just sheen off the top of my head, just like
Everybody's just like, ah!
just like, yeah, everyone's probably like, oh god, why does it keep leaning forward? Sorry, everyone, I'm very bald.
I've never been to the Oaklawn Farm Zoo,
It's a lovely
but I've
spot.
owned animals from there.
What did you own from there?
I think a donkey?
Do I have to do anything to this?
No,
Wait,
no, don't
can
touch
I-
it.
Can you? We're gonna back that up.
Okay.
You said, I think a donkey. So like, how did you come to potentially, not even for sure, but possibly own a donkey?
So I grew up on like a small farm.
Okay.
I don't know if you know this or not.
I did not know this. Actually.
We had like goats and llamas and sheep and all kinds of stuff.
As one does, yeah.
And my mom and stepdad went up there a couple times and came back with animals. But we have
Okay.
enough animals
Yeah.
that I don't know exactly.
Right. Okay,
what
that
they
makes
came
more
back
sense.
with.
It sounded like you were like, one time I got a pet, and you're like, what was it? I don't know. I think it was a donkey.
Yeah.
Not so
We had a
much
couple. We had miniature donkeys. We had all kinds of stuff.
so. We go to Oakland Farms a lot. It's the kids really love it. The
Yeah.
monkeys are awesome. There's lions. It's
Do you ever go
pretty
to
cool.
the? You ever go? No, I can't remember where it is.
Shubenacadie?
No, it's not an animal thing. It's like a
Okay, for
farm museum.
Ross Farm.
Yeah.
Yeah. we go
Have you
quite a
ever
bit.
been to the Peasant's Pantry right by there?
Mm,
Shout out to the Peasant's Pantry. If you're ever in the Ross Farm area, what area is that?
New Ross.
New Ross, that makes sense.
Yeah.
If you're ever in that area, go to the Peasant's Pantry.
Yeah.
My friend Joseph is the owner there, him and his wife,
Okay.
girlfriend. And they make really, really good food. They have like a butcher shop in the back. They make their own charcuterie. Probably the best banh mi you'll ever eat.
Is it like a little? Is it like a little?
Yeah, it's a little
electronic-
A-frame.
I have been there.
Yeah, that place is
I
amazing.
bought a bunch of meat from there actually one time we were going through. It's an amazing spot.
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that
yeah,
place. The peacocks and the peahens. We did have peacocks from there, actually. I think.
Okay.
I don't know how Wendy knows that, but okay. Who's it? 12 different spices just because they're on the stove. Yeah, that's a really common thing where you just have all this stuff and you're just kind of throwing it in.
Yeah.
It's just, you're losing everything. You're losing, like, there's no subtlety. There's no.
There's very
everything's
little I
just
cook now.
commodity.
Honestly, I will cook with a lot of salt, a lot of pepper, and occasionally some chili powder. That's about it.
So earlier you asked me if there was anything I didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
Goat's milk.
Really?
Trinity says she used to have goats, love fresh goat's milk and butter made from goat's milk. So when I was a kid, we were really poor.
Yep.
And my mom, she would buy like a jug of milk. We'd drink it. And when we were sleeping, she'd fill it with goat's milk. And every day, I'd be like, Mom, this tastes like goat's milk. She's like, no, it's cow's milk. Like,
Look at
it's
the
coming out of
the bottle. It's like
okay,
opposite.
but this like really tastes like goat's milk. And so I like could very easily pick it out because there's a pretty big
Yeah.
difference. And so I've always hated goat's milk.
My family had a goat when I was a kid. I grew up in the valley, and again, not a ton of money, and so they had a goat. And one day I came home, and I thought the goat was my pet. And one day I came home, and my goat was gone, and my family was having a roast dinner.
Roast goat.
Yeah, and my mom wouldn't let me have it. My mom was like, we're going out to get Chinese food. And so as we drove past this spot where there's a bunch of goats, I'm like, maybe 5? Okay, that's starting to...
So you can't really see this. I can't really tilt it because we don't want the sugar to crystallize on the edge. But it's starting to caramelize.
Okay.
So I'm just going to take a spoon and give it a little stir.
So we, as I was driving by this place with all these goats, I said, that's probably where Billy ran away, the name of my goat. And my mom said, yep, probably. And then like a year later, as we're going by the same place, I was like, that's probably where Billy ran away to. And my mom was like, yep, probably. And then one day when I was 17, we were going to visit my grandmother, and we drove past, and I was like, this is probably where Billy ran away to. And my mom was like, oh yeah, your family killed and ate your goat. And I was like, I get why you lied to me as a kid. I don't understand why you told me the truth now.
Perpetuated the lie.
Well, no, I'm fine with that too. I'm like, look, just
keep the lie.
Just keep that lie going. Like, I don't need to know that you guys ate my goat. But I didn't eat it. I had sweet and sour chicken balls instead.
Nice. Steve grew up in the Valley. Nastasia says she lived in the Valley too. Lots of people live in the Valley.
It's a lovely spot. I don't get there enough anymore, but it's beautiful.
I like goat's cheese. I do like goat cheese.
Yeah.
I like goat meat. Goat meat is delicious. But I just don't like goat milk.
Goat milk. We get we used to get a lot of goat cheese for the kids because they my son really liked it. We technically aren't supposed to have dairy. Well,
this is not a good meal for you.
So here's the funny thing. So I didn't tell Chef Ben any of these things before we did this.
He told me before, but that was a long time ago.
So I'm not supposed to have dairy or sugar, but I have it anyways because it's not going to kill me. I'll usually get a little bit of a headache later maybe. Oh yeah, that's much more.
So this is about medium.
Okay.
So we're going to take it out. We're going to set it aside.
Okay.
And
it'll continue to cook.
It's going to continue to cook. So one thing to keep in mind when you're cooking a roast is the higher the temperature of the oven, the more residual heat's going to be in the beef.
Okay.
So the more it's going to carry over.
Right.
So if we had the oven on 350, it's going to carry over 2 or 3 degrees less than when it's at 400, just because there's more heat in it, right? Yep. So that's going to carry over probably another 5 or 6 degrees, which should take us to like a perfect medium, maybe just a touch over.
Okay.
Good. So we're going to get a little plate.
So because I'm not supposed to have dairy, sugar, and so my wife knew it, there's a company that makes like a fake goat cheese that's made with nuts, and I can't think of the name of it right now. You can get it at Organic Earth Market, and it is like there's like flavored ones, and they are unreal.
Really?
Like, they are so good. There's a lime, and there's like a sort of a spicy chili one. Oh yeah,
Everything's
those
good.
Those are looking good.
Perfect. So what we're going to do is pop this off.
Yep.
And we're just going to pop that back in the oven.
Okay.
Beauty. So that's it.
Okay.
So we were talking about the caramel for a second there. The reason why we don't want to like move it around too much is if it can stick to the edges and crystallize.
Okay.
And what happens is it causes a chain reaction, and then all of the sugar will crystallize. It inverts the molecules and they'll turn to crystals. So then it's kind of ruined.
Okay.
So then we have to boil the pot to get it all out of it. Like add water, boil it,
Yeah, yeah.
and then clean it and start fresh.
And then you just
So that's why you generally don't like move a pan of sugar around too much.
This is why also you've kind of kept me away from the caramel sauce.
So now you can see this beautiful, it's at a point now where we don't really have to worry about that too much. You have this beautiful caramel color. Now to kind of stop the heat, to prevent the caramel from burning, I'm going to add about a tablespoon and a half of butter.
Okay. Do I want to stir that, or you got it?
You can stir it.
Okay.
So once that butter's melted, we put that back in the heat. We'll pop that back on there.
Okay. Oh yeah, that other part is really hot.
Yeah, that metal part.
Yeah.
And then we're going to add about half a cup of cream.
Keep stirring?
Yeah. And once the cream goes in, it's going to kind of solidify the caramel.
Yeah, it is.
But it's going to heat back up and melt, so it's okay. You don't have to worry about
Okay, yeah. I was like worried there for a second. I was like, this is solid.
Wendy, I've seen the tickler around. It's a kind of cheese, but I haven't tried it, and I guess I should, because it just started showing up in the grocery stores like 2 months ago. See how beautiful it is?
It's gorgeous.
So now we're just going to leave that and let that cook for a minute or two. You can leave the spoon.
Do the spoon in?
Yeah. So we'll let that cook for a minute or two, and then we'll shut it off. And beautiful caramel sauce.
We went to, my family and I went to the Magdalen Islands, well, my wife and I, before we had kids. And there is a fromagerie on the island called Pied de Vent, which if you Google translate it is windy feet. What it actually means is footprints on the wind, and it's an Acadian saying for when you see rays of light shining through the clouds. That's what footprints on the wind means. I was like, well, that's beautiful. Windy feet cheese.
Doesn't sound so good.
Maybe less so. But my wife was like beyond excited to go. She was like, look, and I'm not supposed to have cheese, but like this stuff's legendary. They have this poutine that they make with it and all this stuff. And we got there and found out it is a raw cheese.
Oh no.
So she couldn't have it. So I had it. And basically, like, while I was looking up at her, my face would just be like, okay, I mean, you know, it's cheese. It's pretty normal. It's not that big a deal. But like, while I was looking down at the plate, it was just me being like, This is the greatest thing I've ever tasted. But you can get that company. They actually sell them at European Pantry. Brings in Pied de
Oh,
Vent.
really?
They bring in a couple of different kinds. They don't bring the so there's Pied de Vent as a company, and then they have. What do we? That's so beautiful. That looks amazing.
Done. So now we're just kind of waiting for the meat
Okay.
to rest. But sorry, I didn't mean to.
So
interrupt.
no, that's okay. So they make a Pied de Vent, like is the actual like the make of cheese that they have, but they make a couple different kinds. The Pied de Vent one they don't get much there, but there's another one called Tom de Demoiselle, which makes like the greatest nachos I've ever had. Like they're just.
I'm sure they'd love to hear
delicious.
that.
I'm sure they would hate to hear that, but I love it.
The new food. So apparently Wendy's saying the Tickler cheese is really good, so if you see it, give it a try, let me know what you think. And Donna's saying her favorite cheese is Hero's Italian cheese from the Halifax Depot Farmers Market. Loves the Scaramora... I can't say it. Scamorazza, I can't remember what it's called. So Steve, Donna, and I actually went down and toured Ciro's cheese facility a couple weeks ago. It was really cool. He has took us into his house, gave us coffee, it was beautiful. But in his house, he's 6 or 7 kids, I think. So he needed to build an addition on his house, and he has this stone sink that he built. So it's all different stones with concrete, and they have a wood stove which they do all their cooking on. It's a beautiful place, really really cool, really really nice guy. So if you're looking for some good cheese, go to the Seaport Market or Dartmouth Farmers Market. Go to Ciro's Roma Cheese because it's really really good. He makes
check it out.
all kinds of Italian cheese. It's good. Really cool guy.
Nice.
Just wanted to throw that out to Ciro's.
That's good. I love cheese.
Yeah,
We've gotten a lot of cheese substitutes over the years. We get different things, and I don't mind them in general. Today we had we went to Boston Pizza today with my son's hockey team after their game, and one of the dads brought a bag of Daiya cheese because his family can't have cheese, so he brought that, and actually he put that on their cheese on their pizza. But he was saying to me, he was like, "Yeah, the thing about this cheese, he's like, as you know, he's like, more isn't good. He's like." With normal cheese, you're like, well, if you add more cheese,
it's cute.
It will be better. And with this stuff, it's like more is not better.
What is the Daiya cheese? It's soy?
It is not soy. I couldn't tell you what it is. What I can tell you is it is dairy-free, soy-free, and potato-free. I don't have a clue what it's made of, except it doesn't have any of those things. The shredded cheese is really good if you want to add to stuff. They've got a block cheese, too, that's not bad. And then they have some cream cheeses, but that's what my family has for cheese. It's quite good.
Wendy says there's only 2 kinds of people she doesn't trust: people who don't like cheese and people who don't like bacon.
Well, I love bacon. It was actually one of the new sort of part-time gig that I've taken. Part of it was that they make breakfast every Friday, and I was like, they were like, we usually have bacon. And I was like, okay, I'll work here. That's totally fine. Because originally I was like, I can't come in for 8:45 on Fridays. Can't make it until 9. And they were like, we have this breakfast. We usually cook a bunch of bacon. I was like, I'll move my schedule around.
If anyone wants to hire Mike, you can just pay him in bacon.
Pretty much. Bacon, potato chips.
Pretty much any food.
Yeah.
I just want to, there was a comment up here. Trinity says she fell in love with the soft cheese that sampled but never found out what it was, but it tasted creamy and had a sort of yellow-orange crust on it. So was it soft like brie? Did it almost look like an orange brie? Because if it did, I know what it is. I can't remember the name, but I can find it for you. Because I do know that cheese. Steve Googled Daiya, which is made from cassava, which you guys should remember from last week.
There you go.
Arrowroot, and is known for its cheese-like consistency and melting property. It contains no animal products or soy, lactose, wheat, barley, gluten, or nuts. Interesting.
It's really good. The thing is, if you're using it for nachos or cheese or stuff like that, it's good to just have a really thin covering. Because as it gets thick, the consistency is really kind of mushy on the inside, but if you put a little tiny bit over nachos and make it, it's fantastic.
That checks out.
We go through, it comes in little baggies. We probably go through 3 to 5 bags a week.
Wow.
The kids just love it, and so we put it on almost everything. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, I've never had it because it's not something I would generally buy, right?
Well, because you can have cheese.
Oh, exactly.
So if you can have cheese, there's really no reason for you not to.
Mish says if you eat cheese regularly, then you will miss cheese.
Yeah, that was, you know what, that was when I...
She says it's good if you haven't eaten cheese in a while.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny, like when people do this like food test thing that we do, which is like an enzyme blood test to figure out basically what it figures out is what enzymes does your blood have and doesn't have, and then therefore what can it break down, what can it not break down. And so it's not like an allergy because you're not gonna break out or anything, but if your body can't break it down, something has to happen. So a lot of people it's stomach issues or skin issues or headaches or whatever. And I always tell people before they take this test, I'm always like, ignorance is bliss. You will feel so much better when you start doing this, but like if you find out that like you can't have fruit or you can't have eggs or you can't have dairy and you love those things, you'll be upset. So.
That's fair. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to plate this guy up. So we have some sweet potato. We have some onion underneath here that's pretty much just melted, which is what we wanted.
Yeah.
And a little bit of zucchini.
I think one of the things I often struggle with is like getting like I struggle with like everything sort of being ready at remotely the same time, especially in veggies, like with something like sweet potato, where I often find like one of my favorite things to do is make up like a sweet potato hash almost. So I'll do some onions, some sweet potato, I'll do some bacon usually, and I'll add some eggs, I'll kind of do everything. But I always end up with like crunchy sweet potato and overdone other stuff. Like I've just...
you can parboil it if that's consistently an issue. Or just start it before anything else.
This is what I've learned is like, I used to just put everything in the pot at the same time, and I've learned that that's not how that works. So, yeah.
So this isn't quite enough time to let this rest, but we're running out of time, so we gotta...
It's fair. Oh man.
So I don't know if you can see, it's just like a little bit
Just a little bit pink, but yeah. And it's just melting.
So when you, I'm sure you probably know this, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you see the grain of the meat, how it's kind of cut against it, like across it.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
I think it just keeps it all together and so that it'll slice properly, but I could also be totally wrong.
No, so what it's doing is it's actually shortening the muscle fibers.
Okay.
So it's not chewy. Because if all you're doing is chewing on like long strands of muscle fibers, you're not going to be able to...
Then it just kind of... Okay. Yeah. Is that the same for most meats? Like, is that the same
meats.
for...
Chicken, you don't have to worry about it. It doesn't have like a grain, really.
Okay.
But pork, beef, anything like that.
That's ridiculous. Well, I'm glad I chose something a little more suitable for you this time around than our last adventure.
So most people probably don't know.
No, I know.
So at my old job, I used to do a show similar to this, but it was more like an interview show than it was a cooking show.
Yeah.
And Mike was a guest one time. And normally I interacted with the guests and asked them what they wanted to cook, but somebody else did, and Mike said cookies. And all of a sudden I had to make cookies, which...
And I didn't really know the difference between like a chef and a pastry chef and like all these things. I thought like chefs can cook everything and they would probably love to do that. So I was like, how about cookies? And they were like, sure. And then when I showed up, I remember you being like, I hate baking.
I can do it, I just don't like it.
And I will say this, despite the fact that we did burn them and then run out of time a little bit.
And mix them with like a whisk and like, it was just... It was just absolutely
They tasted amazing. They were really, really good. But yeah.
Speaking of tasting.
This is...
Oh, and... little ball.
Oh yeah. You just put this right on the top of the whole thing?
So, we didn't let this rest enough,
but
and that's why we have this.
Right.
Now, if you let it rest long enough, like probably 15, 20 minutes for that, you won't get this. It doesn't matter how rare it is, you won't get it. And I know it looks gross, and I apologize, but we just ran out of time.
Yeah. Am I putting dollops on the other ones too, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't put anything on that one. I don't exclusively want it.
Okay.
I will
This is like...
Now I'm going to do one real quick thing while you're trying
Is that good for...
Yeah, that's good. I'm just going to whip some cream really quickly. Now I'm going to throw together bananas. So you can eat if you'd like.
Sure. Do I just stand here?
Yeah, knock yourself out.
Okay.
You got to tell the people how it is.
I'm really excited about this. Because my wife is vegetarian, we don't like really make like a ton of meat. Like I'll often make meat on the side to an existing dish, but it's never like we made something that was designed to be a sort of an additional thing on it.
Yes, the board cleaned up very nicely, Steve. Very, very easy to clean. I take very good care of it.
This board is beautiful.
Hello, Mike Hall. You're missing out on some delicious food. How is that?
So good.
Good?
It lets, I think as I've learned that like food tastes good as it is generally, and then if you try to overpower all these different flavors, you lose out on what the actual flavor of the thing is. But this is fantastic.
So I'm just going to make some whipped cream really quickly, and I'll throw a banana split together with that caramel sauce, and then that'll be the end of this. Do you have any questions for Mike before we go? Do you have anything you want to plug? The Potato Chip Podcast, probably, which is doing really well, and which we're about to record an episode of.
I continue to, of course, obviously, if someone needs website help, social media help, content help, like I do a lot of writing, that kind of stuff. But the big content stuff I produce, the biggest stuff is just the podcasts. They're all available on Apple Podcasts and most other platforms. They're all hosted through Anchor, so you can kind of get to them through.
What I say is it's just available wherever fine podcasts can be found.
Right.
That's what I would say about
wherever fine podcasts can be found.
Don't take my line.
That's what I'm going to use from now on. And so, Riding in Cars with Cats is sort of like a business development. We talk a lot about sort of small business growth and those kind of things. Mostly Spoilers is basically me hanging out with a friend who likes to get on my nerves and heckle me about stuff. You'd enjoy that probably the most. And then the new one, which has been sort of the most fun to do, is Chip Off the Old Block, which is my potato chip podcast. And the idea is basically like, it's not a potato chip review podcast. We're not just like trying a flavor and saying whatever. We sort of have the guests tell their stories through the lens of potato chips. Like, that's really what we've done. Like, the first guest was, we literally, like, 3/4 of the way through, he was like, I think I have to talk to my therapist about what we've sort of uncovered from this. And it's just a lot of fun. We talk about marketing, we talk about productivity, we talk about all these different things, but with the lens of like, okay, but what's your favorite potato chip? And why we like the things we like, so.
You should check it out. So we have a banana in here. I'm going to get some ice cream, excuse me. Sorry.
It's okay. This is ridiculously good, man.
Thank you.
Like, so flavorful. I would say, like, and honestly, as much as I love the meat, the veggies are, like, fantastic. So good.
It's my favorite way. And I mean, because the meat kind of melts down into the veggies and it all kind of flavors together. So there was supposed to be fudge sauce on here, but I didn't have the ingredients. So
He didn't really want to make it. He had all the stuff for it, but he decided against it.
And honestly, this is kind of a cop-out of a dessert a little bit, but
Why?
I don't care. I'll usually do something a little more complex. But.
Simple's good, man.
So we have banana, we have vanilla ice cream. You guys know how to make banana splits. We have this beautiful, look at this caramel sauce.
I heard the ice cream container open and it came out.
The other thing I like, the thing I've liked about listening to your podcast, and the thing I like about this is that I feel like I can do this stuff.
Well, that's
like,
the whole idea.
Right. I mean, there's tons of like cooking shows and all this stuff where at the end of it, you're like, yeah, I can't do that. Like, that's really cool that you made that insane thing, but I can't actually do that. But I love the fact that I sort of like understand what you're doing pretty easily. I'm very close over here now, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
But yeah, this is like amazing.
Well, thank you.
So
I thought I had maraschino cherries. I don't, so we're just going to put some more caramel sauce over the top. And we're going to put some peanuts. Salted peanuts. Because the salt, because the salt's going to kind of contrast with that sweetness.
yeah.
Like salted caramel, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to bring out some really cool flavors.
My probably favorite candy in the world is Lure caramels. You can get them at a bunch of different places. My Home Apparel sells them, like their like stores sell them, and also my
I'm going to feed you.
Am I going to this? Alright.
How's that sauce?
That's so good.
Let's get in here.
It's really delicious.
Oh, my Rob.
There's a really good little store in Lunenburg called Fisherman's Picnic. It's a little store that carries a lot of like local stuff, and that's where I first had this caramel called Lure. It's like this really rich salted caramel, and it is like salted caramel I find is usually overdone. Like now it's just like well everything is salted caramel, but Lure is like just perfect. Like it's real salt. It's like it's unreal.
So could you get that here anywhere?
I got it in Turtle last time. I know you can. I feel like they actually might have it at Seaport Market on Sundays when they have that little like local sort of kiosk with all the different local
That's
stuff.
there all the time, eh?
Is it all there all the time? I just never see
it's
it.
always there.
Yeah. I would imagine they would have it.
Alright, well that's a wrap.
So good.
Mike, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. It was delicious.
Thank you to everybody for watching. Thank you to Ashworks Cutting Boards. Steve said he just liked One Red Cat Media.
Oh, thanks, dude.
Thank you to Atlantic Livestream. If they're not here tonight, they do usually provide us with beautiful footage and camera work and stuff, so thank you to them. Thank you again for watching. If you really like this podcast, you can go to patreon.com/Ben Kelly Cooks and become a patron for as little as $1 a month or as much as 50. If you do sign up for the 50, you get like your own episode of Dinner with Ben. I write the whole episode for you. You get to be a guest, all kinds of things. And all you're really doing is helping me buy groceries for the show and keep doing it. That's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back next week with another fantastic episode. I don't know who my guest is or what we're cooking, but I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. I'll see you then. Thanks, everybody. Have a good Monday.